Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their Week 9 matchup played November 8th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. And let's start off right on the first possession. The Giants, on their first play from scrimmage, Eli Manning is intercepted by Sterling Moore, and then the Buccaneers would end up getting a field goal off of that turnover as Connor Barth hit a 25-yard field goal to make it 3-0 Tampa Bay. So now on the next possession for the Giants, Eli would drive him down the field, 63 yards in 10 plays, resulting in a field goal that tied this game up at 3 apiece. Josh Brown hit the 35-yarder, and that was with about 10 minutes still left in the first. So now the Bucs would respond with a field goal, their second field goal of the game, with about 8 minutes still left in the first, a 28-yard field goal by Connor Barth to make it 6-3. Double raise over the Yankees. Just a little joke there. But on the next possession for the G-Men, they would drive down the field and score the game's first touchdown, still in the first quarter, as they went 80 yards in 12 plays, eating up about 7 minutes of clock, as Eli Manning would hit Ruben Randall for an 8-yard touchdown with less than a minute still left in the first, as the Giants took the lead for the first time in this game, up by 4 after the extra point by Josh Brown made it 10-6. So that was the score after the first quarter. And actually still in the first quarter, before the quarter came to a close, the Buccaneers would lose the ball it was on the first play of the second quarter, as they had the possession at the end of the first quarter leading into the second quarter. The first play from scrimmage in the second quarter, muscle hamster Doug Martin fumbled the ball. So now the Giants would take over early in the second, just 6 seconds into the second quarter, on the Tampa Bay 28-yard line, and they ended up scoring 3.5 minutes later after picking up 28 yards, capped off by a 4-yard touchdown pass by Eli Manning to Shane Vereen, and with the extra point by Josh Brown, it was now 17-6, Giants in the lead over the Buccaneers as they extended their lead to 11. So now the Buccaneers on their next possession would drive down into field goal range, but they would end up with a missed field goal as Connor Barth attempted a 43-yard field goal. He made 4 field goals in this game, but here he missed this one wide right. And so now the Giants would take over on their own 33 after the missed field goal, but they would turn the ball over on downs. And so now the Buccaneers would take over on their own 35, and they would drive down the field 62 yards, and they would end up having to settle for a field goal by Connor Barth, a 21-yard field goal with just seconds left on the clock in the first half, and it was now an 8-point game with the score New York 17, Tampa Bay 9. So that was the score at halftime. Then in the second half, the first possession of the second half, the Buccaneers would end up fumbling the ball on their own 45 as Sims would lose it. And so now the Giants would take over on the Tampa 24, and they would end up getting a field goal by Josh Brown, a 35-yarder that made it 20-9, New York in the lead by 11. Then the Buccaneers would go 49 yards on their next possession, eating up about 4.5 minutes, and they would get a 53-yard field goal by Connor Barth with about 7 minutes still left in the third, and that made it an 8-point game once again, a one-possession game with the score New York 20, Tampa Bay 12. So now New York would get the ball, they would march down the field, they ate up about 5 minutes of clock, they went 47 yards in 12 plays, but on 3rd and 9 from the Tampa 33, Eli Manning was intercepted for the second time in this game as Werner picked him off. And so now the Bucs would take over on their own 43, but they would end up punting after 5 plays and 10 yards. The Giants would punt after 5 plays as well, picking up 13 yards. And now the Bucs would take back over on their own 13, and they would drive. It was now in the fourth quarter. They drove, actually when they got the ball, it was with about 11 and a half left still in this game, and they went 87 yards in just 5 plays as Jameis Winston would take it in himself on a 10-yard touchdown run. They went for a 2-point conversion. They did not convert it. It failed, and so it was a 2-point game with the score New York 20, Tampa Bay 18 with 9.5 left to play. So it was a tight game in the fourth quarter. And then on the next possession, the Giants would march down into field goal range. And with a little over 7 minutes left to play, Josh Brown hit a 53-yard field goal of his own. This one would make it 23-18 as the Giants pushed their lead to 5. So now the Bucs would take over, and they would be forced to punt after 8 plays, gaining 31 yards, and they would end up having a punt from the Giants' 49 as they had brought the ball to midfield, but their drive stalled after 3 straight incomplete passes. So after punting the ball, the Giants would now take over on their own 20, and they would march back into field goal range. They got all the way down to the 25. They lost a yard, so on 4th and 3 from the 26, Josh Brown came out to attempt a 44-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, with just less than half a minute left to play, and it was now 26-18 as the Giants had extended their lead to 8 points. So now the Buccaneers would need a touchdown plus the 2-point conversion to tie the game and send it into overtime, but with less than half a minute left, that would be too tall of an order, as on first down they had an incomplete pass, and on 2nd and 10 from the 6, a fumble, and it was returned by Trevin Wade, 5 yards for the touchdown. The final play of the game, a defensive touchdown by the New York Giants, the G-Men, coming up and getting that touchdown. They went for 2. It failed. I don't know why they went for 2 other than to practice their 2-point conversion offense. But the final score, 32-18, is the Giants win this game. It was actually a tighter game than the scoreboard would indicate at 32-18, as it had been a 2-point game there in the fourth quarter. But the Giants, after letting it get to within 2 points, they end up scoring 12 points in the final 7+, and they scored 9 points in the final 30 seconds of this game. And the Giants were able to score 16 points off of turnovers. The Buccaneers scored just 3 points off of turnovers in this game. The Giants are now 5-4. They remain in first place in the NFC East. They're 2-3 on the road, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now 3-5 on the season, 1-3 at home. So the Giants get the victory on the road, and they were actually just one of 2 teams to win on the road in Week 9 on Sunday, or even Thursday. The Bengals won also. But yeah, they won this game, and Eli Manning, despite the 2 interceptions, they were able to get a lot more points off of their turnovers that they got from the Buccaneers, as the 2 interceptions would only result in 3 points for the Buccaneers. So it was pretty negligible. But Eli Manning, 26 for 40, 213 passing yards, 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Rashad Jennings was the leading rusher for the Giants with 13 carries for 48 yards. Williams had 7 carries for 30 yards. And Odell Beckham Jr., 9 receptions for 105 yards. Ruben Randall, 5 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. And Shane Vereen, 4 receptions for 29 yards and a touchdown. Vereen also had 6 carries for 14 yards. And for the Buccaneers, Jameis Winston was 19 for 36, 249 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Sims he had 8 carries for 78 yards to be the leading rusher in the game and for the Buccaneers, but 59 of those yards came on 1 rush. It was a big game there, that 59-yard run. Doug Martin, the muscle hamster, 11 carries for 31 yards. Jameis Winston also had 3 carries for 24 yards. But Mike Evans, 8 receptions for 152 yards in this game for the Bucs. We look at the kickers. Connor Barth, 4 for 5 in this game for field goals. Josh Brown was 4 for 4 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points, as he was perfect. And on defense for the Giants, Brinkley forced a fumble, as did Hankins. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Werner had an interception, and Sterling Moore also had an interception and a forced fumble. We look at the first downs, 24 first downs for the Bucs, 19 first downs for the Giants. On third down, the Buccaneers, or actually 24 first downs for the Giants, 19 first downs for the Bucs. Excuse my mistake. 19 for 16 for the G-Men on third down, 56% for the Buccaneers. They were 6 of 13 for 46% on third down. Total net yards, 385 for Tampa Bay, 327 for New York. On the ground, the Buccaneers netted 136, the Giants netted 114. Through the air, the Buccaneers netted 249, the Giants netted 213. And for the penalties, 9 penalties, 79 yards against the Bucs, 6 penalties, 49 yards against the Giants. The real big difference in this game, though, was the fumbles, as the Bucs fumbled 4 times and they lost 3 of them. And that really kind of wiped out the 2 interceptions by Eli, and those 3 fumbles would lead to 16 points for the Giants as they were turning those turnovers into points on the scoreboard. And when you can do that, you're going to win. That's how you win on the road, is forcing turnovers and turning them into points, whereas the Bucs were only able to get 3 points off of those 2 picks. And we look at the red zone, the Giants 2 for 4, 50%. The Buccaneers 1 for 4, just 25% in the red zone. And with production like that in the red zone, you're usually going to lose if you only can get 1 touchdown out of 4 trips. And then time of possession, 34 minutes, 55 seconds for the Giants, 25 minutes and 5 seconds for the Buccaneers. The Giants had the ball a full almost 10 minutes more of time of possession. This is also JPP's first game back in uniform for the Giants, and they get the victory. And like I said, it was a much closer game than the scoreboard would indicate. It was a 2-point game. But then in the end, the Giants really closed this one out strong. And you get the 4 field goals in the game by Josh Brown, as he was very reliable also with the 2 extra points. And then they get that defensive touchdown that really just put the explanation point on this one to make it, a 14-point victory in what had looked like it was going to be an 8-point victory. Either way, the Giants get the W, and they improved to 5-4, stay in first place. And against the Tampa Bay Bucs team, although, they have a losing record, but they're playing some pretty decent football, except they're having trouble holding on to the football. But on the defensive side, they're playing pretty strong, and they actually, not letting up too many points to the Giants. We saw the Giants can put up a lot of points. You see what they did to New Orleans last week as they were running up the score, although they did lose that game. But the Bucs held them to just the 2 offensive touchdowns. But the Giants kept putting points on the board, and like I said, they capitalized on the opportunities. They made the plays they needed to make, and especially, like I said, with the turning those turnovers into points and also shutting down the Bucs in the red zone was big for the Giants as they get the win. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. Please excuse my mistakes. I do apologize for that. And I do hope you're having a good day and had a great week and are having a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.